The other day I released a video, but I had a long stream. We talked about this probably like last week by the time you're watching this video. We had a long stream. The stream, I went over HP inflation, skill issues, the propaganda behind Zenless, a bunch of other stuff. And I got a really cool video response. Now, this for me is a little personal. Not a bad personal, I mean like emotional personal. Let me give you a little bit of backstory before we jump into the video. Dwarf made a video response, and I don't know if everyone's been around on YouTube for a long time. I'm not like some old YouTube boomer or whatever, but I do know about YouTube prior to what it is today. And YouTube used to have video responses. You could, instead of commenting, you could leave a comment of your video, like you respond in video format to other people's videos. And I'm like, dang, that's crazy. But it provided like this weird, TikTok does it now. TikTok does it where you can stitch. It's a stitch, right? YouTube had stitches before TikTok did. Anyway, Dwarf basically stitched as a response to my video. And I'm like, yo, that's kind of cool. And in this video, spoiler alert, Dwarf actually had a lot of, or rather opened my perspective to something that I wasn't even thinking about. Like the way he explained it and thought about it, I didn't think about it like that at all. So it made me think, and I'm like, you know what? That's totally valid. I watched the video already. I want to watch it with you guys today so I can show it to you guys. We're on stream right now, by the way. Couldn't tell from the chat, but I want to show it to y'all because I do think it's pretty good. I'll leave a link down here as well in the description, and then it'll be in the chat if you happen to see it too. But yeah, it's nice. This is from Dwarf Rants. If you guys want the video, I'm dropping the link in the chat right now. Anyway, the video. We are watching now.
So after the first 3 hours,
you guys hear it?
I've now got a tiny little audience, which mostly just means I'm proud of what I made.
Oh, let me move my camera
Well,
too.
I was
Oh, maybe
honest
not.
about my original statement. That limited success did make me open to making more. And on Tuesday, I was watching EOXS's stream, link in the description, about HP inflation, and I found myself talking to the walls again. The following morning, it dawned on me that should be my standard for making new content. I won't plan any future
quiet?
videos. I'm not going to start making regular content like how to play video. Honest about my
If I make it louder, I feel like it's gonna bleed through my mic. Let me see.
original statement about not planning any future content, that limited success did make me open to making more. And on Tuesday, I was watching EOXS's
Turn
stream,
TC on.
link in the description, about HP inflation, and I found myself talking
You can
to
hear
the
him
walls
now?
again. The following
He
morning,
sounds like
it dawned
well,
on
okay,
me.
guys. Dwarf did mention, right? Dwarf isn't. He's not a content creator. Like he just made it. He just made it. So I don't expect like, you know, Dwarf has a RE20 or a Shure SM7. He doesn't have that. You know what I mean? Not everybody has. Not everybody has a fucking $400 to $700 microphone setup. Okay, chill. I'm gonna rewind it for a little bit so you guys can hear it. All right.
And I found myself talking to the walls again. The following morning, it dawned on me that should be my standard for making new content. I won't plan any future videos. I'm not going to start making regular content like how to play videos or streaming.
On OBS and start it.
Anytime
Yeah.
I find myself wanting to join the conversation, I will make and share a video for my contribution. Bonus, if I don't bottle these thoughts up, the resulting video won't end up being an hour and a half long. So let's get started. What did I think about EO's stream? And more specifically, what do I think about the current HP inflation
I love
rate?
that thumbnail.
First off, I generally agree with everything EO said over the course of the stream.
WEO.
Still, there were a couple of things that got me ranting.
Oh.
Nothing that I think will start any drama. And those things were, one, I think EO is right, but maybe he's the wrong messenger.
Weren't we just chat? Didn't I just say that earlier? I said that earlier. I said when I was explaining the whole thing with like the glaive stuff or whatever, and I said it's because I say things. If I wasn't the one that said it, everyone would, oh my God, wow, this is so philosophical. I can't believe Magical Person 73 really said that. Wow, you know what? You should start a channel. If you made gacha content, I would totally watch your okay. Okay.
And two, I disagree with what he said about the Pridwin Shiyu clear times.
This one, like I said, I already watched it, so you guys will see it. But number two, disagreeing with what I said about the Pridwin sheets or the Shiyu clear times and that my standards are too high, that was a huge eye opener for me. But we'll get to it.
So let's start off with EO as the messenger.
The way you articulate your thoughts matters a lot. It
Outside of the
does.
light trolling
It does.
of
I've been
"you
learning
just
that
suck."
more and more.
I think EO has a problem with
because
there
EO is
being a
black.
large skill gap between what he can do and any audience member who's maybe struggling with content that he's trying to convince. Encouraging someone to run a marathon can be inspirational, but if that same person is a competitive marathon runner and they're telling you how easy it is, just how useful is that information?
Again, yesterday, I watched, mind you, I watched this after going to the gym, chat. I have not been to the gym in over a year. Yeah. Literally last year I went to the gym. Last time I went to the gym was like last year, March, April, something like that. Haven't been since, haven't been active, nothing. Yesterday, I went to the gym for the first time since. Kicked my ass. Now, mind you, and I didn't lift weights, it was just full on body workouts, squats and something with something behind my head, still more squats, bending over, planks, anything physical like push-ups, pull-ups, weights, comfortable as doing all that. The full body stuff though, got me. And I thought, when I heard this last night, I was watching this little bit and I thought to myself, I was like, damn, this is literally how I felt when people kept telling me, just go walk, just go to the gym. My whole point about that little tidbit was because I'm hearing, listen, just get in the gym. Bro, the gym is easy. Once you start, all you're gonna do is wanna go to the gym. Bro, just get in the gym, bro. Just go walk. Just go take a 30-minute walk. Nope. There's all different reasons why I don't wanna go to the gym. And then hearing that part, I was like, damn, that clicks. I get it. I get it now. I get it. You know, it's not easy hearing that from somebody who is either naturally more skilled than you or has trained to be more skilled than you in whatever that subject is. So I get it.
But it's like an obscenely
Blaming
wealthy person
Chingy.
giving investment advice to a poor person. The advice may not be wrong, but it might be a bit too far removed from a person's actual problems. Also part of that stream, and having a similar problem, was the reference to challenge mode clears, like the Solo Soldier 11 clear, or even outside of the stream, OK Muzzy's just posted another 2-character Deadly Assault clear. Now those videos can be inspiring. They show players what's possible within the game's rules. They encourage me to try harder, and more importantly, play who I want, how I want.
Facts.
And they are a goal to aspire. I am never going to get close to that level. But I also understand that showing perfect or near perfect gameplay with fantastic builds while telling players to get better, not the most constructive help.
All right, now I will say, and I think Dwarf is gonna mention it here in a bit, but just in case I'm misremembering, I will say about that in particular, right? My clears, Muzzy's clears, especially my clears, and the Soldier 11. The Soldier 11 is a little different, but it's nuanced. The reason why we're all picking or pointing at the Soldier 11 clear isn't so much because they have like maxed out builds or anything like that. It's more along the lines to bring into perspective that there's zero reason someone can clear 20K with one single character, and the rest of the casual players or novices, whatever you want to use, they can't clear with a full team of 3. This is typically where we're going. It's not about Soldier. I mean, playing perfectly is amazing, which all of that goes into attesting how skilled the player is. But it's just it's to show what's possible. And I understand that Dwarf might be understanding that, but I do want to say that for anybody that might be listening to that video, because I know a lot of people like to go, yeah, I knew EO was stupid. Got you, another person, another content creator. You know what? Get this guy on Tech Jones podcast. Another content creator is gonna be shutting EO. I know how they are now. All right, I'm only saying this so that we're all on the same page before things get a little too out of hand. Most of the time they shouldn't do that though. Clip it and ship it. No. Mentioning that part, right? Now going into Muzzy's clear, Muzzy cleared with, and I'll come back to here in just a moment. Muzzy cleared with 2 characters, and there was something that Dwarf didn't mention in his video that is very important to Muzzy's clear. I understand that Muzzy is a more skilled player. He's not like super skilled, right? Like Muzzy doesn't even know, like even in the video, Muzzy straight up says, I'm not learning rotations. He's not going out of his way to learn anybody's rotation that he doesn't already know, except Sokaku. Sokaku was the only one that he learned a little bit of. Yo, DHM was popping, McDowell. How you doing today? Sokaku was because Kate told him, right? Kate loves Sokaku. So Kate told him how to play Sokaku with Miyabi. And that's the only thing he learned. Everything else was just him doing it on his own, figuring it out step by step. The reason why Muzzy's video in particular is so damn good at defeating this HP inflation, power creep, whatever argument, is because it's someone who's closer to the skill level or the floor that Dwarf is talking about right now. And what ends up happening here is not only is it closer to that floor, that skill floor, but it's also bringing into account, or rather we should bring into account, Muzzy did this at one cost. Now, some of us are familiar with the cost system from games like Star Rail or Epic 7 or whatever it is that you might have some PvP type things happening into it, right? In Zenless, one cost is pretty much the same, but to explain it, one cost means, or any cost rather, it's the cost of a limited item. So one cost means that it's like, hey, this W engine is one cost. This S rank limited character is one cost, right? All of this stuff is one cost, or adds a cost to it. So if he were to use Miyabi plus her W engine, that would be a 2 cost. If he were to use Miyabi, W engine, and Vivian, that's a 3 cost. So Muzzy cleared all of Deadly Assault with just 2 characters per side with 1 cost, meaning that he only used 1 limited character or 1 limited W engine. He did not use both. And that's again, another separation. That's a huge thing to point out, is that it's once again showing not so much that you need the new characters, you need their weapons, you need to have cracked out builds, because he didn't even have cracked out builds in here. It's literally to show you skill of any varying degree, right? Put in the work, skill over pulling every latest new character that you possibly need. I think it's important to say, instead of if this person can do it with 2 characters, so anyone can do it 3, but maybe say something like there's no reason to say someone with enough work can't get to the point of doing with 3. I like that. We could say that. Yeah, that's a much better way to present that information, or that point. Yeah, I like that. We could do that. Yeah, if you put in the work, you can get to this point too, you know, especially with 3 characters. Oh wait, I gotta go back to where we were though.
Can be fantastic, not the monthly to address this to help. No, I'm not really aware of what EO could do differently to address this issue. That being how his level of skill makes him a poor messenger. Once you're good at something, all you can really do is handicap yourself, like the aforementioned videos. But that probably does more to highlight individual skill than it does to demonstrate how fair content is. The point I think he's trying to make, that players need to try harder and play better to fully clear, is correct.
Yes.
But that said, we don't have to master everything he shows and tells us. We don't have to play perfectly to do better.
Correct. I think I've always mentioned that, right? I don't want people to think that you have to be a master at playing the game, because even I'm not a master at playing the game and I still clear. But yeah, you don't have to be pro. If we were to show the diagram, if we were to show the diagram again, right? Blue, green, yellow, orange, red. You don't have to be an orange or red player to clear anything. And I do understand some of the comments that I got about that graph in particular. A few people were I guess maybe they misunderstood the graph, and they were taking it exactly like how that was just said, where it's like they took it as, in order for you to be able to clear in game or to be at in game, you had to be orange or red, and nowhere near that was my message when I originally said what I was doing. So I get where people could have that little bit of a confusion. I just want to clarify that.
Of the floor and says it hasn't moved.
You just need to acknowledge that you have to engage with the game's mechanics. Exactly. Yeah, there is some form of just getting better. I know that Dwarf is going to talk about that here, but it is some form of getting better. Exactly.
But I suggest that the reason he's wrong is because he can't even see the floor.
That's not true.
Someone who talks about a 2-minute 15-second average clear time as trash no longer knows what the floor looks like. So what I think EO needs, and maybe even the community needs, is someone closer to the problem to speak up.
This is the part where he opened my eyes to what I didn't see. So if we go back to the clear times just for a little bit, right? And then Dwarf is going to show it with his own clear times, which made it more clear to me. 2 minutes, 130, 152, right? I could see how this is way more average, especially once he brings it more into perspective of how he's playing. The Necromata 10-minute thing, I think that's just because people don't play the character. But like, I legit don't understand how Necromata is doing anything in 10 minutes. I think it's because people don't play the character. The Billy thing, I don't understand that either. People are clearing with Billy and like literally faster times than the lighter, the Lycan, the Nicole, whatever, right? But it is what it is. They just don't have the data for it. They don't go looking for the data. It is, it's fine. But it did bring it into perspective that like, okay, I'm already talking to a lot of players who are not in the yellow, basically. Pridewind is already established that they make content for players who are in the green and a little bit in the yellow, right? Like they want to go into the yellow maybe. But Pridewind doesn't provide any content or context, right? The information for someone to go from yellow to orange to red. That's not what Pridewind's for, based off the criteria and stuff like that they've established. Their something message. Someone told me the word, but their blank message That's not what they're for, right? To go from yellow, orange, red. They're there to go from blue, green, and a little bit of the yellow. Cool. Based off of that, and with this video kind of opening my eyes, I completely understood it at that point. I'm like, you know what? That's fair. That's valid. I was a little harsh with the clear time, the mission statement. Thank you. I was a little harsh when it comes to like observing the average clear time and then recognizing that these players are trying to learn or just don't give a fuck, right? There's one or the other. And so your clear time isn't going to be what I see the average is, right? For Miyabi. Miyabi clears anything, excuse me. Miyabi clears anything under like 60 seconds flat pretty easily, even with the HP inflation that's around. Having Astra on the team absolutely adds plus or minus 60 seconds to whatever the fuck you're doing, right? But if you don't know, right, you're not in that yellow bracket to orange, you don't know that. You don't know how to do it. So with that, I'm like, okay, you know what? Valid. And so his comment about me being in the sky, I'm not even in the sky, bro. Like, bro, Dwarf, I'm not a red player. I'm orange, I guess, right? Like, and that's not even me being humble. I'm orange. If I want to be humble, I'll say I'm like at the top of yellow, but I'm definitely not a red player, man. I'm not a red player. To be honest, anyone that pulls based off meta and a tier list isn't exactly trying to be yellow/orange, let alone a red player. I can see that too, for sure, for sure.
Knows what the floor looks like. So what I think EO needs, and maybe even the community needs, is
Yoji
someone
is a red
closer
player,
to
absolutely.
the problem to speak up. Coincidentally, this is the niche I'm trying to fill in the community. I am not a meta player, but I am an invested player who devotes time and effort to clear content. I have 9-starred every Deadly Assault and been S-ranking all of Shiyu defense since 1.1.
There's a really, really important part that he's going to mention here in a bit that I'm going to highlight about time.
That has not always been easy, and it's been getting harder. Especially recently, I very rarely 3-star Deadly Assault or S-rank Shiyu 6 and 7.
Hero, you're also correct about the Max video. What's funny, I got a comment basically like trying to be I took it condescendingly. Maybe they weren't trying to be condescending, but the comment was like, as someone who's already watched the Max video, Max explained that his view was blank, 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 and that this changes based off you're a casual or pro. So based on that, your entire video is invalid. And I'm like, did you not hear the part where I said that I would like go through my own stuff and make my own graphs to relate it to gacha? Once it's like people purposely take out some shit that I said just so they can make a comment about it. Oh, no, I didn't hear that, brother. You never said that. It's timestamped at 35 seconds, 0.333. Like, what do you mean? Oh, well, I must have skipped over that. Like, I just went straight to the, all right, you got it. Anyhow, yes, you're absolutely correct. And that it does skew your view of things. You know, like from our perspective, casual players see people in the yellow and they think they're orange or red. And then the green players are just assuming everyone above them is a red player, right? Green players also think they're in the blue, which they're not, but I get it, right? Everything is skewed at that point. Common sense and critical thinking isn't critical and don't have to think it.
First try. In fact, I may spend multiple days within the 2-week window making attempts, each day leveling and tuning my teams in order to finally succeed. And this is with characters that I've been
Everyone who
building up
does
since
Calix is
launch.
red. Oh no.
So that's why I'm throwing my 2 cents into the conversation here. I am a messenger closer to the problem. And up front, let me declare that
How
I
you do that?
not problem.
Y'all see this, Evelyn? Bro, this
And up
wipeout
front,
is crazy. I'm just gonna
am a
keep.
messenger closer to the problem.
She's like slow-mo reverse
And up front,
moonwalking. How the
let me
fuck she do
declare
that?
I do not think HP inflation is currently a problem.
Yo, W Dwarf,
I
W
say
Dwarf,
that as
W
someone who
Dwarf.
has
Yes,
to
sir.
actually work for my points and ranks. Back in my first video, I introduced the concept of the bar. The bar
Isn't that
being
exactly what you should do though? Experiment with your builds. DHM, you're right, absolutely. And so if we are looking at that briefly, the difference, or rather something that happens with that concept, at least in, you know, obviously for my opinion, but something that happens with that concept, and we've talked about this a couple times before, there's a huge split in the audience or like the gacha space where it's like, it actually, damn, I got this. I don't want to pull it up because I don't want to put this guy on blast. So I'm going to read the comment for you guys real quick. The comment says, one argument I've always hated is player A is able to beat any content with lame characters. Therefore, everything is balanced fine. Well, good for him, but I'm not him. And I don't care what he can do. I care what I can do. And what I want is to be able to, what I want to be able to do is clear all of the content using the characters that I have, using my level of skill and time investment. So DHM, I'm reading that comment out, and there's like 2 or 3 other paragraphs after that one paragraph, right? But I only wanted to screenshot that one because it was just hilarious. The reason it's so hilarious to me is because Blood is literally saying exactly what I've been saying the whole time. I don't want to get better at the game. Remember the graph? Hold on. Hold on, chat. Hold on. Right? We got the graph, boys. We got the diagram. He wants this, like bar for bar, what he explained in wording. So when people are like, oh, you never show any proof, I just read a full comment to you. Players want the ceiling to come down to their level. The comment literally says, I want to be able to clear all content in the game, regardless of what it is, at my level of skill and time investment. And I don't want to go anything above what I want to do. It's literally this W diagram. Facts. It's the same thing. And I'm not saying that is like, okay, you don't have to think that way, but your way of thinking in relation to what we're talking about is wrong. It's just wrong. I gotta frame that. Maybe we get a better one. I don't know. Maybe we get a better one, bro. You know, but it's like, if I were just talking about a random, and again, I'll bring up like Genshin Impact. If I were playing that game and there's no end game, the developers themselves said, yeah, no, we don't want to bring in game into the game because it'll make our players have anxiety. I now expect that comment to be 100% true. There's not a single thing in this game that I need to think about more than 2 brain cells. That makes sense. But then when you have developers like Zenless developers, and they openly stated, yeah, we're purposely making more and more challenging content with each patch, with each season. Season 2, they straight up said, we're bringing hell. We're trying to like really hammer it home. We want you guys to have fun, but we also want to bring the challenge. And that is our challenge, is trying to figure out how we're going to bring a really good challenge to you guys and bring the fun. But they said after that, if you are having issues or problems keeping up with the challenge, completing the challenge, whatever, we highly suggest you take use and advantage of our training facilities located in game. The developers themselves are actively telling you get good. Once again, this is not an EO thing. Oh, EO said this, EO wants this, EO. No, the developers, every single thing that I say or relate or reference to is directly from the developers' mouths. They want you to get good at the game. They want you to practice. They want you to invest in order to have whatever fun you want to, but they're not gatekeeping you from doing whatever the fuck it is. They can't just make baby's first robot and leave it alone. Like, at some point you have to improve. And it's so weird to me that we as like the, not even just CCs, but like as a gacha community, right? We did the same with Genshin. Then we left it. Everyone left Genshin, right? Oh man, there's no hard content, no end game. Okay, we're gonna find another game. And here comes Wuthering. Oh man, this game is perfect. Okay, now what? Now we want harder content in Wuthering. Zenless came out and it was too easy. You didn't have to think, you just mashed the button. When's the harder content? Now we have harder content. No, take it back. It's too hard. I don't want to play the game. I don't want to think about the game. Why did I have to learn this? Well, when I played the game day 1 for 5 minutes before I quit, I didn't have to learn anything. But now that I'm playing the game almost a year later, I have to learn so much shit. I don't want to do that. Hold on, you brought up TV mode, and that's funny because TV mode was literally like the preventator, or the this is the thing you do because you don't want to do the combat. I don't think that part was talked about either. Like, and maybe Zenless goes back to that. Maybe Zenless goes back to that. Hey, you don't want to play the combat? Here's TV mode, right? And now you can play puzzle games. You get Puzzle Simulator instead of playing combat. Maybe that's an option. I don't know. I miss TV mode. TV mode was cool. Everyone hated TV mode though. Freeze. Incorrect. Incorrect. I'm gonna say it again. When I say, I'm not gonna say everyone either. The majority of players on launch who were not a fan of TV mode and were very adamant that it should not be in the game, and if it weren't in the game, they would play TV or play Zenless. They would love it. If TV mode wasn't in the game, they would love the game. They'd play it every day. It'd be their main gacha game. Those same people are not playing the game today. Someone's running their account. They barely log into the game. They don't know how to play the game, and they don't keep up with the game. Some of them have uninstalled the game completely. They tried it in 1.4, didn't get through whatever the they had to get through at the beginning, uninstalled it again. So it's like you're catering to an audience of people that are not playing your game. Coincidentally, the players who were playing Zenless, not all of them, but a large chunk of them based off the surveys that were provided. This is why this happened, by the way. Based off the in-game surveys and Twitter response surveys that we were able to do, we had 2 different forms of surveys that we could do for Zenless during this time before 1.4 got here. Based off these surveys, the players that were actually playing the game enjoyed TV mode and did not want it to go anywhere. This is why originally the Zenless devs announced they were getting rid of TV mode altogether. And then a large it's not even vocal, a large majority of actual players said, no, fuck that, keep TV mode. Like, why would you get rid of it? Like, it's already here, we don't have a problem with it. So then they said, let's compromise. We'll reduce TV mode and then give players the option to make TV mode or not TV mode active. So now we have both, right? Now we have both, but it's never been a everyone hated TV mode. No, everyone that already didn't want to play the game or wasn't into the game, they hate TV mode, but not everybody else hated TV mode. Now back to the video.
Minimum the devs expect from you for max rewards. HP inflation is directly linked to the bar. And contrary to what EO said, the bar has been getting higher.
Correction, Dwarf. Anyway, I did correct myself shortly after that in this video because Yojimbo was letting me know. He was like, yo, to be completely fair, the bar has gotten a little higher, but not like, it's not at midpoint, right? And we both agreed. The bar has risen maybe 5%, 6, 7%, right? But this bar has not risen 15, 20, 25. It's nowhere near that right now, right? But I just wanted to clarify. I did say that the bar has risen, but it ain't high.
Getting higher since launch. And it's
wait, what'd you say,
being
Crap?
felt here in
Dwarf's
the last
talking like he's barely a novice. It really sounds more like he's right on that novice and intermediate border and doesn't realize it because it doesn't seem effortless, which is what he seems to think is required to be at that skill level. I think what's funny, I do believe at some point in the video, he does say that he thinks he's like, I think it's bottom of yellow, top of green, or top of yellow, something like that.
2 or 3 patches. And I think that that's a good thing. Deadly Assault and Shield Defense are end-game challenge content. They should not be free and easy to max rank. They should be a challenge. And they are intended to challenge long-term players. To be more specific, they are intended to challenge players like me. I have perfect attendance in ZZZ.
Perfect
which
attendance.
Is not really something to brag about. But it means that I have a large roster of well-leveled characters. And I don't think a single one of those characters is fully leveled. Which I only mention because on any day, I can still make myself stronger by just investing more points in a character. I am not stuck up against a wall where my only option is to play perfectly. I still have multiple ways to improve every day. To challenge a player like me, the devs have needed to raise the bar. So here's 3 points I want to make about HP inflation and Zenless Zone Zero.
I really love that Dwarf is treating it like this is the second presentation that I've gotten sent to me this week, by the way. I really love that he's treating this like a presentation and he's providing you the points that he's going to be talking about as well as going over everything and explaining it too, because it's easy to follow even if I'm not reacting to it, right? And so there's very little that you can mess up. If anyone were to watch this video, you have to purposely misconstrue what's being said. This is really solid, really good way of going about this. The 3 points that he's going to talk about here. The bar started too low. Completely agree with that. I think we literally just got through talking about that around the TV mode thing, right? It's too easy, but now it's too hard. Number 2, it's supposed to be a challenge for majority of the players. Completely agree. Majority of the players are not in the orange, they're not in the red. They're going to be in the greens, the yellows, and the blues. And so if you guys are struggling right now to clear it, that's exactly how it should be, just as Dwarf explained it earlier, where it's like players like himself, this is where that bar should be. And so you have to keep rising it in order to keep the players matching what's going on, which is totally fine. And then number 3, fear of the future may be misplaced. I think this is direct, because I don't remember exactly what he said, but excuse me. I think this is directly tied to the conversations or discussions that's been going on about power creep and HP inflation. I'm gonna let this play out a little bit so you guys can watch it. I'm gonna step outside of the door like real quick.
My first point, number 1, the bar started low. Now, I still found it a challenge at launch. I didn't fully S-rank clear until the second reset right at the start of 1.1. But even then, I completed that first clear when my characters were only level 50 to 55, and I barely had 2 teams. That's how low the bar was at the start. We could clear it under level. Honestly, from that point on, fully clearing Yoooo defense was pretty much free. I could reliably get around a 1 minute 30 second clear time with my Piper, Core, and Lucy team, which meant I could take as long as 3 minutes and 30 seconds on the second half with any team I wanted, such as the new teams I was building to expand my roster. And expanding my roster of teams meant I was better able to take advantage of the banner bonuses from each patch's new characters, which helped keep my clear times low. So Yoooo defense was pretty much free and easy until sometime in 1.5, I want to say? Maybe as early as 1.4, but what I remember most at that point was just rounds 4 and 5 starting to get harder. Anyway, that's point number 1 about HP inflation not being a problem. From launch, the bar was deliberately set low, since the devs needed us to actually have a leveled roster before they could start pushing us. I would argue
the point he's making is missed by a lot of CCs right now. So let's change that wording real quick, right, Rare? Let's change, instead of a lot, let's go with a few. Very, very minute, minuscule, if you will. Most of the, in fact, I'm gonna put it this way. Not a single Zenless content creator has expressed HP inflation being a problem, or power creep, or not a single one that I'm aware of. Maybe there's one that I've never seen them. They've never popped up on my algorithm. I don't know. Not a single Zenless Zone Zero content creator has expressed this issue being an issue. In fact, most of them have come across and expressed that this is not an issue. Anyhow, however, what I will say is that there are content creators of the gacha variety in general who have expressed this issue, and that is still minuscule in and of itself. They don't see that the bar is started too low because it's something that they don't want to acknowledge. This is for 2 reasons based off my observation. 1, they don't want to acknowledge it because it would automatically defeat their argument, which then gives them no argument, so they can't talk about it. 2, they weren't there for the beginning of Zenless. They were in and out. What do I mean by that? So in-game, or something close to in-game, for Zenless Zone Zero, right, reaching Yoooo 7 and having more appropriately built characters, especially if you weren't a well, this didn't really happen until about maybe the end of 1.1, maybe the beginning of 1.2. So a safe bet would be to say like 1.2, right? In-game of any variety didn't really start until 1.2. Most of the content creators at that time already stopped playing the game. In fact, there are more content creators that stopped playing the game during 1.0 than there are content creators who came back in 1.4. So I just want to point that out. I think that's kind of where it is, right? And if they were able to accept this first point here, that the bar started too low, now I do believe that it opens up the conversation for like what I've been saying and what other creators have been saying as well, is that it's more appropriate, right? Like this HP inflation isn't something crazy. This is more appropriate to what's going on versus before it was just too easy. Ellen hasn't been power crept. Who keeps saying that? I keep seeing that comment. Bro, Ellen has not been power crept. I don't know who's saying that, but she is not. Hey, she's not been power crept, bro. No power creepo. I know someone's gonna say it too, like probably not in the comments, but what about Miyabi? Ellen hasn't been power crept and Miyabi is right there. Okay, next thing we're gonna start saying is Hugo power crept Ellen too. Come the f on, bro. No, that hasn't happened at all. And I was saying it at one point that the only character that's actually been power crept based off the definition of power creep would be Soldier 11 to Evelyn. But then Soul and I had a conversation the last time I mentioned that, and he's like, I don't even think Soldier 11 got power crept. I just think it's a different option. And I'm like, you know what? That's valid. That's valid. Ellen's in the dirt. Cypher, you in the dirt. Maybe Piper to Jane? Not even Piper to Jane. Not even Piper to Jane, dude. Piper is still rock solid. And most, especially free to play, most players playing Piper, that's some of their fastest clears. Piper is an amazing anomaly character, especially for the free to play audience, because all is literally spin to win. You don't have to think. I mean, she has some combos to her that you could learn, but if you didn't want to learn it, you just spin to win. And every character that works with Miyabi or Yanagi or even Jane all work with Piper, right? And that's just one element that you have to work on. Everything after that, free stuff, bro. Free stuff anytime you play it. Free.
Any HP inflation from launch to like 1.5 is irrelevant and shouldn't be factored into any future arguments.
Yo, Cat, run it up. Run it up. W Dwarf right there. any HP inflation from 1.0 to 1.5 should not be factored in. W Dwarf, run that shit up. That is an amazing statement because it's so true. It's so true. Absolutely, man.
And somewhat related to that, as a short aside, I remember laughing to myself, as someone who enjoys playing a diverse set of characters, especially the A-rank ones, when Deadly Assault first came out and people started griping about needing a third team. I was set. I had 4 solid teams by that point: Physical, Fire, Ether, and Electric. And that was before Miyabi and
Even I didn't have
Haramasa.
that. Even I didn't have that. Nope. And that's what's crazy, right? You guys know my history with it. I was very on and off with playing the game. Not because I didn't love it. I was just burnt out of everything. Having 4 fully built teams before Miyabi gets here, oh yeah, you were putting in the work. You were putting in the work. You know, you're building up everything over the course of time. You're playing the game correctly. Like, this is exactly how you should have done it if you knew everything that you were doing in that moment in time, right? This is good. This is a very great way of doing it. And even if you don't have it, it's like, I don't even want anybody to think like, oh man, I had to have 4 teams built up too. I don't think that's what Dwarf is saying either. I think he's just pointing out the fact that before Miyabi got here, he was prepared. Everyone was like, oh man, DA's here. I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared. What were you doing? What were you doing? Another key factor that I do want to bring up just briefly is the disk drive thing. Even I'm still learning it to like fully optimize it, but I know it enough to not be kind of like complaining about it. A lot of the time, or rather most players have no idea how to actually do disk drives. They're still treating it as if it were like Genshin, pre whatever they have now, right? Going to grind for artifacts. You use all your stamina, use all your resin, you just go hunt. We get 5 free runs a week for 4 disk drives. And then the Bardic Needle store, you can literally just go craft whatever it is that you need, right? If you don't get what you're looking for when you're doing the 5 free disc, go craft it. And it's so much easier to do it that way. And you don't even have, excuse me, you don't even have to use your tuning calibrators and things like that. Just go swing it. You get more than you lose. And there is a process to doing it, of course, right? I'm not saying everything about the process right now because I don't have the game in front of me, but the point being is that people are wasting their resources and time doing things in Zenless that they don't have to. Zenless's grind doesn't work the same way.
It came out. So I had a good laugh when people started complaining. Yeah, ZZZ isn't an all of your eggs in one basket style of game. You want to diversify.
Agreed.
Anyway, this leads to my second point on why I don't think.
And yeah, see, Flora, that's what I was saying. Like, now it's kind of in Genshin.
It's
Wow,
supposed
Genshin.
to be challenge content. The bar has always gotten higher. Since Deadly Assault launched in 1.4, it has never been free for me. I think I got...
It's confirmed that this Shiyu's HP has went down, shown in some graphs. Really? Remember what I told you guys about RCE servers versus what happens on live server? And I told y'all, we play with higher HP than you guys. That makes sense. If the graphs before were using leaked information or CE server data, because it's impossible for them to have that information before or without using a beta server, right? Or a CE server. This confirms what I was, if that is true about the graphs, this confirms exactly what I said in the previous stream, that a lot of what we get, and even in Starro, a lot of what we get is much higher than what you guys get. And it's easier for y'all compared to what it is for us.
5 points total that first day when I attempted
They
to clear
shouldn't,
it.
Flaro, but
And Shield
leaks
defense
are leaks.
keeps
They're going to
getting
do it
harder
anyway.
too. For the last 3 to 4 resets, my first attempts on rounds 6 and 7 have failed to S rank. For the last 2 resets, I
haven't done the reset for this one yet, so I don't know what's in it.
rank 6 and 7. My first attempts are usually between 6 minutes and 6 minutes and 30 seconds. At that point, I have 2 options. A, I switch to a stronger team, or B, level the characters I used, since we do have 2 weeks to clear after all.
Agreed.
Starting with option A, switching to a stronger team, let it be fully known the characters in ZZZ
Pookie's
are
mentioned
not...
that ever since the Miyabi CC server that he's played on, we've never got the hardest Shiyu that he's played. Yeah, it's never made it to the game. And I distinctly remember that, right? And like, this is, mind you, this is when, remember the Haramasa Chingy and Miyabi thing that I was showing you guys? This is around the time where it was like, that was such a crazy feat. No one else has done that since. Yeah, no one else has done that since that I'm aware of, right? To be able to just like decimate an entire, and this is tower, mind you, not Deadly Assault, this is tower. To take out something in one single stun, the same ones that did it then are the same ones doing it now. You know what I mean? Like, We don't have that same level of difficulty anymore. And I don't even know if it was difficulty or if it was just the fact that the HP was a lot higher.
Not balanced. Characters like Miyabi and Astra are incredibly powerful.
35 the Omega Defender.
They are easy mode for
triggered,
ZZZ's endgame challenges. If I am running out of time to clear Shield Defense or Deadly Assault, or maybe I'm just being a little lazy, I know I can fall back on those characters to almost guarantee
this point was
win.
Really good too.
I'm pretty okay with that. I like that I have that as a safety net. I disagree with any notion that HP inflation is because of those
Dwarf,
characters.
Dwarf.
Until characters like Piper, Corrin, Ben, Zhu Yuan, etc. become unusable, the devs are not tuning difficulty around super characters like Miyabi and Astra. Neither of those characters are necessary to clear
Double
content.
correct.
They are easy mode options you can fall back on. And because they're my
also,
fallback,
I want to point out before anyone says it, not in here, obviously you guys are pretty chill. I just mean anybody that might watch this video. People think that Bringer, the only way to defeat Bringer is with Miyabi. Like if you just don't have Miyabi, you can't fight Bringer. Harsh reality, you are just ass at the game, or understanding the game at least. Two, nicer way of saying that is that that's just not true at all. That like, and I've never felt not being able to defeat Bringer, I'm gonna spoil it for you guys, until Hugo. And it's specifically because of his ability. Now, if you fight Hugo, or if you fight Bringer outside of Deadly Assault, it's easier, right? Hugo can defeat Bringer, but in Deadly Assault, that's where the problem lies specifically for Hugo.
Option B, leveling my characters and trying again, is my preferred option. If I can get close to par,
Hugo's
like
getting
say
power
about
crept
3
by the
minutes
game.
in a Shiyu half, or
He's not
18k for Deadly Assault, on
he's
my
not getting
first
power.
attempt,
He's not doing any
then
power
I consider
creeping.
that
He's not
team
power
possible,
creeping, or
and I
they're
may
not power
decide to
creeping
keep
him.
trying with them. At my level of skill, I can swing a Shiyu Defense clear
What's stopping
time
Hugo from
plus or
fighting
minus
Bringer?
30
So it's
seconds.
specifically in Deadly Assault. In Deadly Assault, Hugo has to let the eyeball, right? The phases, they have to happen. The only way that you can kill it is if your stunners are strong enough, crit-wise or anomaly-wise, to take out the eyeball. Otherwise, he's gonna do his sword. That's gonna waste more time. And then you have to build up stun meter again in order to break him. Now, there might be some ways to stun lock him, but I haven't fully done it yet. Excuse me. You could also possibly, instead of running double stunner because of the Deadly Assault, you can just do Lukaku. Hugo should be able to just kill the hand. He cannot. He cannot. Hugo outside of stun does no damage. The like not having totalize as an effect, I can show it to you later, R2. Maybe you can help me figure something out that I can't figure out, but I can show you in the Discord. But from what we were testing, and I even like I had Nyx like look at it too. It's one of those things where like you only have so much EX meter anyway to do Scythe. One EX Scythe does not take out the hand, which is very unfortunate. And his basic attack combo, it's filled with longer animations and also does no damage. So by the time you could potentially do some damage, the hand or the eyeball is like, I'm charged up now, and then it does what it needs to.
Or Deadly Assault by 1 to 2,000 points, just by trying again and playing better. So if I try once or twice a day, and each day I devote my gym time, training room energy, to the characters on that team, doing that, my experience has been that I can eventually hit 3 stars or S rank. For the last 2 Shiyu Defense resets, that S rank has literally been at the buzzer. In fact,
think Dwarf likes
I have
that,
twice now
the
seen
buzzer
the
part.
A rank completion screen with both a 5-minute and a 5-minute 1-second time appear at the end.
Gotta
of
love
the
how the
fight.
game still feels like anomaly over stun. Not gonna lie, it's gonna be that way for a long time for the foreseeable future. Yeah, I said that earlier. Until they make something dedicated to just attack types or just stuns, it's not gonna help. And even then, it's harder to make that because the stun would still help the anomaly in some way, shape, or form. What if you build anomaly stunner since you already have overload on impact? Celsius, that might work out. We were in the middle of testing that. The only problem is you'd have to get rid of your impact. So it depends, right? Like if you can calculate how much or how fast you can stun without an impact drive, it might work.
But the devs seem pretty nice, because each time I returned to the Shiyu Defense menu, they had given me the S rank anyway. Turns out they don't want to rob you at the buzzer. That close finish is what I consider peak gameplay. My ideal difficulty is something I fail, but still feeling like victory is reasonable, eventually overcome. An easy win is not rewarding. But if I can get close enough that I feel I can work for it, and then do work for it, and achieve it, I think that feels incredible. That is my #1 reason not to wail on ZZZ.
I gotta agree with that.
Because an easy victory is joyless. Stuff your 65k deadly assault clear.
DPS, but
I will take a buzzer beater victory every time. Doubly so if it means I cleared with the teams I want to play, how I want to play them.
That's called zone of proximal development and learning / education. Really? I mean, I like that phrase altogether. Zone of proximal development in learning / education. Nice.
Deadly assault, I just did something similar last reset. For the butcher fight, I got like 19k with my Piper, Core, and Lucy team. The anomaly buff for that reset included fire and ether damage bonuses, so it wasn't an ideal team. But the performance bonus was for defensive assists, which is half the reason I use Corrin, so I committed to clearing with my first and still one of my favorite teams.
Smart.
It took like another week of tries.
Another thing to talk about is the deadly assault buffs. Even I don't read deadly assault buffs like that because I play the game my way and I usually clear it. But people or players should absolutely be using Chi buffs and deadly assault buffs to their advantage, especially if they are on more of the weaker side of player skill, because these buffs are so nice most of the time that if you play for the buff, oftentimes you're going to get the clear anyway. You're oftentimes going to get the clear anyway. When Miyabi first came out, Miyabi had a buff that was going on in there where it basically gave you an anomaly mastery disc for free, which then allowed you to run attack percent. I talk about this all the time. And that gave you the positives of an attack percent 6 and an anomaly 6 at the exact same time. Utilizing that at that moment, you could also get away with, hypothetically, right, giving Jane, for instance, an attack, an attack 6, and letting the buff give her AM 6. Again, this is like the theoretical, of course, because I don't remember if it was Ice Anomaly specifically or if it was just Anomaly Mastery altogether. The point being is that if more players paid attention to these buffs and they found ways to utilize these buffs, it would work out. It was Ice Anomaly? Okay, so just Ice Anomaly then.
I completely swapped out Piper's disc set.
That's what I'm yapping. DA buffs are made for selling agents. Nah, I think we have plenty of agents that can utilize these buffs by now.
But I finally managed to clear just over the limit. I was thrilled. Close enough is good enough.
W.
So for context, I do not consider myself a great player. I cannot play perfectly. I do not have.
I didn't even know Zenless kept up with this amount of information.
I am not min-maxing my drive disc buffs. Clearing floor 25 of the tower with my Zhu Yuan Seth Nicole team took me literal weeks. It was a struggle. When I did finally clear it, I missed the double
I agree with you guys.
So the dead twin got resurrected and the fight went into overtime. I finished that fight with no deaths at 8+ minutes. I was exhausted, but I was ecstatic. I literally whooped in the privacy of my own room, just for myself. To date, I have only cleared up to floor 26. I am just not good enough to climb the tower. At least not with the time I'd need.
No, it says 31 right there. You cleared floor 30.
Which is to say that I'm clearly not trying to brag about my skill at this game.
Different tower.
Getting back to the content from EO's stream, with regards to the casuals bar he referenced, I don't know
my tower
if that
clears,
puts
that's
me
just
near
like
the
12,
top
bro.
of green or the very bottom of yellow. What I do know is that I am way below EO and other high-level creators telling you it's easy. So from that perspective, down here at the bar, the point I want to make is that HP inflation exists to challenge players at my level. And right now, I think it's in a very good place.
Agreed.
To call out a thing EO said, right at about an hour and 55 into his stream, he threw some shade at the average clear times on Pridwin. Now, I'm not saying he's wrong, but I consider that a prime example of him being the wrong
I'm
messenger.
too high in the sky, chat. I'm too high in the sky.
2 minutes is a great Shiyu defense time when you're at my level. 2 minutes means an extra 30 seconds of slop on your other half.
This is where my perspective was like really opening up, right? Where I'm like, okay, you know what? That's valid. Because I never thought about time that way. I never think about time in a split, 5 minutes total, 2 minutes here, 2 minutes here, whatever. I've always thought about it when looking at these clear times. I've always thought about them like single-handedly right here. Huh? Is Mark Haynes subscribed? How do I know that? How would I know that? I don't know that. You asking me like I know. I don't know that.
Believe that the devs' goal with HP inflation is to get and keep the average clear time close to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. More than that, then it's no longer a challenge mode. And transitioning on that, the third thing I'll say about HP inflation is that I think when many people complain about it, what they maybe are expressing is fear of the future. So number 3, the reason people show graphs of HP inflation is the, I think, incorrect assumption that the trend will continue. I cannot see the future, so I'm just running on faith here. But I am a cheering section fanboy of the ZZZ dev team. I do not believe HP inflation is going to keep going if the average Yoooo clear times drop below 5 minutes. I do not believe that HP inflation is going to keep going if most players can't achieve 20k on Deadly Assault. The devs are watching these numbers. This is literally what designers do as part of their jobs. They are watching the averages and they are tuning the numbers. Par for Yoooo defense is 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It has not changed since launch. The devs do not have an incentive to tune the average time to take longer than that. That is the bar. That is where the devs want the majority of us.
I like,
based on Pridwin's,
I didn't even interrupt Dwarf right there, but I like the way he explained that. And what the par is basically they're splitting it, right? I love that he used the in-game time to represent what the bar actually is. Not, and even for myself, right? I'm using theoreticals and you know, like the made ups when it comes to what I would assume the bar is based off a player's skill level. But he's using the actual in-game timer, specifically representative of Yoooo defense, as the bar. 230, which 230 times 2 is 5 minutes. 5 minutes is how you get the S rank clear. If you go over 5 minutes, you get the A rank clear, right? Excuse me. So it's in your face. This is where the game wants you to be. Developers want you to be around this time on average, and that makes sense. And with that in mind, now it's really way less. It's way less about clearing sub 60 seconds, you know? And now players, even now, I think, I feel like players with this perspective or with this information, players absolutely should be able to feel more comfortable clearing now. And this goes back into what I said before too. Not in the last stream, I said it in a video, and I mentioned the fact that I believe because a lot of players or viewers, they watch myself, Apple, R2, Yoji, Yojimbo, Soul, Tate. They watch a lot of us put out this, even Lino, they watch a lot of us put out content and we're smoking it, right? Like we're literally going through the game in a matter of seconds to a minute. And I feel like that's something that they want to achieve themselves, but that's not what they should be aiming at, you know? Saints reacting to my vid live. That's what's up. Tell him when he has questions, he can just call.
Averages, and this 50% flag from my battle record, which I'm assuming is average percentage of players with a similar score, the devs are doing a good job of tuning the difficulty so that S ranks and 9 stars are challenging but achievable for the majority of players. So if you're struggling to hit 20k or S rank Yoooo 6 and 7, here's what I'll say. Firstly, you might just be new. HP inflation is chasing and challenging players that have been here the whole time. Players like me.
Huge point to bring up, because I get a lot of questions about that. What about new players? What about new players? I just started a month ago. What about the in-game is catered to people who have been here for 300 plus days. Absolutely agree with that.
You just started playing, or only started a few patches ago, then maybe you aren't supposed to S-rank Yoooo defense and 9-star Deadly Assault. If you're hitting that wall, what I would ask you is, have you S-ranked all of the HDD combat missions, especially the set in Chapter 3? Have you completed all of the Hollow Zero modifier challenges? And have you climbed to floor 25 of the tower? I ask those questions to highlight that there's plenty of content for you to work on that isn't being leveled to players like me. If you're relatively new to the game, then don't feel like you're supposed to be able to fully clear the challenge mode that exists to challenge longtime players.
I told y'all this was a good video, bro.
Still struggling.
The perspective,
well,
like I'm telling you, if I could, and I might work on it, compiling everyone's statements about this entire discussion, right? Every single Zenless creator that has talked about this, all of us have been bringing our own perspectives, opening up more, and this is This is how you're supposed to have discussions in the space. Let me make that very clear. Any space really, but because we're talking about the whole gotcha thing with Zenless, this is what I'm getting at. Even if we were all playing this whole like make a video, react to it, make a video, even if we were doing that, the whole point of this entire debacle is for everyone to be able to speak their perspectives, understand, come to an understanding, and then come to an agreement or a conclusion at the end of that entire conversation. And so what I really love about this entire thing, especially with this video, and you guys have seen me do this live, things that I said in the stream and in my own video, I'm like, damn, that opened my eyes. I didn't see it that way. Okay, the way that you explained it and using in-game references, this makes so much more sense now. Okay, now I can think about it this way. Now I can address it that way, right? I can take back what I said. This makes sense now, the clear times. Okay, yeah, you know what? That was a little bit harsh. That was a bit unfair of me to say. Now that I have this information and see it from this perspective, not being in the sky, of course, I get it, right? This is the whole way it's supposed to go. I love it.
You says you just suck. But I will give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe
am I ready?
Lazy. The challenge mode should
we
involve
can have that
a
combo
little
when
bit
he's
of work.
ready.
If you don't want to put in that work, maybe it's just not for you. But I'm not getting the max rewards, you might say. And to that, I would point out that you're missing, what, 80 polychrome every 2 weeks? That's only like 1.5 pulls a patch. Because you're still at least getting an A rank, right? ZZZ gives rewards for each tier you manage to achieve. So it's not like all or nothing, you have to hit S rank to get polychrome. Now, if you can't A rank Shiyu Defense, or even hit 14k on Deadly Assault, well, I hope your problem is that you're just new then. Because otherwise, you might
There we
just
go,
suck.
yo, W-mans.
So finally, far from the peaks of Mount Meta, in the spirit of representing us lesser beings, those of us that live here down on the bar, I am going to record my first attempts at the next Shiyu Defense reset Friday, May 9th, and post that footage, raw and unedited, to my channel. If it turns out how I hope, it will look very unimpressive. And it will more than likely not be a full S rank.
Hey, listen, if we got the funds for it, I'm totally down.
I will not use either Astra or Miyabi. And then after that, assuming I don't fully clear, I'll record subsequent attempts over the next week or so until I fully S rank it. And I'll show any stat, disc, or team changes I make on the way. And we'll see how much editing it takes to make that watchable. If I really suck, it might have to be a montage. But hopefully, I'll end up documenting what it's like down here at the bar. And we can lower some of the temperature on this HP inflation debate. Thank you for listening. Do feel free to comment. I have no social media presence, so here on YouTube is the only place you're going to hear from me. And it's always nice to know that someone is listening.
I got you. I'll post the link up in here again too for you guys at the end of the video.
Inspiring this video with this stream.
Here we go. I got y'all. Great vid. Great vid. I want you guys, if we do a takeaway of like what we just watched together. Dwarf just started dropping content on the game, right? Or on the channel. This was an amazing video. I just mentioned it earlier, but I'm gonna say it again. This was an amazing video that allowed not only myself, but I think a lot of you guys as well, and anybody that might watch this in the future, to take what I was saying, just not from me, obviously, but the perspective as a whole of someone that anyway, again, I'm not a red player, but let's just say it. Taking the meta take, right? The perspective from being in the sky, too high to see the floor, and then taking the perspective of somebody who is on the floor. And he showed you exactly like, I am right there on the floor. And he loves a challenge. He's able to clear. He's not using the broken characters. And when he does need to use the broken characters, he understands that it feels more like an easy win. Yeah. All of this is such a good way to have this discussion. It's such a good way to push the conversation in a more progressive manner. Dwarf, I love that video. It was really good. I want more of this. I want more of it. As a new player, right? I hit my desk. As a newer player, I want more of this. Yeah, this is good. Chat, I think we got a banger. I think that was a banger, bro. Y'all sub up the Dwarf. Encourage him to make more content. I do also, Dwarf, if you happen to see this, I want to see those clears. I want to see them. I don't struggle clearing Shiyu. I don't struggle clearing it on my free to play. I want to see what you're doing with your clears. So whenever you get around to it, hell yeah, post those up, let me know. Definitely down for that. Boom.